Hey YouTube land, welcome back to another action figure review by Tycondrius. And today we're having a look at something I don't actually have the box for, but I have a similar box. So it's a chase variant of one of the existing figures from this line, which I managed to pick up at, well, technically I picked it up at Dublin Comic Con, but I actually had pre-bought it before Dublin Comic Con, so it was just a matter of collecting it from the seller, from the vendor. Oh, and he's fallen over. And that vendor is Uncanny Collectibles. So I'll put a link in the description of the video below for their website. They tend to get in stuff. They get a lot of action figures. They also do statues and things like that, and kind of, you know, pop vinyls, all that kind of, you know, pop culture stuff. And they're pretty good. So I picked this guy up. He's a chase variant of the Darktide traitor guardsman. So as I said, I don't have the existing box for him because when I was up at the convention I bought a bunch of stuff, and because the box is so big I had to downscale on what I could fit in my bag on the way home. So it is essentially the exact same box as this. This is the regular traitor guard box. The only difference on the back is instead of the image of this version of the traitor guard, you have this guy. And I think it might say chase variant somewhere on the box. I don't know if it does or not. And obviously on the side of the box, instead of the regular traitor guard, which I will bring in for a size comparison, because it is essentially the same figure with a slight alteration. Other than that, it's pretty much the exact same figure. But instead of being the traitor guard, like that's on the image on the side of the box, it shows an image of this guy. So moving that box out of the way, he does come with one extra additional accessory that the, well, three accessories in total, whereas the original traitor guard only came with two. So one of which being the good old standard, bog standard McFarlane base. Let me just get him to stand there. He will stand without the base, it's just getting him in the right position to do so. Go on, stand. Voila. He does come with one of these 40k stands. Now this isn't the one from him, this is one from one of the many other figures I have. And if you're familiar with this line, similar to the stands that come with the DC figures, there's DC Collectible or DC Multiverse, the pretty much all standard McFarlane line now at this stage. The only difference was the Fortnite figures actually had unique stands for a while. I don't know if any of the later ones kind of replaced that stand with these ones, but it is what it is. So the other two accessories he comes with, Las Pistol, which from what I can see is the exact same sculpt as the one with the veteran guardsman, the regular guardsman from the Darktide set. I don't have him to hand, unfortunately, to do a comparison, but it looks identical to sculpt. There's nothing, unlike the las gun, there's nothing that kind of defines it as being a Chaos Traitor Legion las pistol. It looks exactly the same, just only difference is that you have this beige brown or beige coloring and this kind of off gray for the kind of handle and for the las gun barrel, and then a couple of bits on it are the same. So if I just get it into his hand, he does have two trigger finger hands, so you can put it in either hand, but it does kind of look best in the right hand. I'll bring in the tape measure so you can see how high he is. So to the plume on the top of that head, he does stand around just around 7.25 inches. He's a little bit taller than 6 inches. Like ideally, if these were perfect in scale figures to guys like the Space Marines, the Chaos Space Marines, or the normal Space Marines, they should be around the 6-inch figure mark, but they aren't. And then you have this cool gnarly blade that he comes with. It's kind of hard, I'm not sure which way he's supposed to wield it. The serrated edge looks that side, so I'm pretty sure he's supposed to hold it this way. Oh, it kind of looks more natural that way because it kind of, you know, has a kind of curvature, but it is supposed to be this way, which I believe I had it wrong way around in his hand at the start of this review. It's a bit windy here at the moment, so you might hear some very big wind in the background, so he's supposed to hold it that way. It's a very nice hooked kind of blade. You can, if you want, if you have, which one did this come with? This came with the Black Legion Chaos Space Marine. If you have that, you can probably prise this into his hand. It looked like it's supposed to be kind of a combat knife for the Space Marine, but for the guardsman it's like the size of a sword, so it is a pretty big blade. If you wanted them to have kind of more standardized looking melee weapon, and it still kind of has that chaos look to it with kind of points and sharp angles on it. But just be wary that if you do that, it might outstretch the hand a bit because it's a bit bigger. The handle is bigger than the one that it comes with. So without further ado, we'll get into a couple of, we'll just bring in the original Traitor Guardsman so you can see the difference. There's one other kind of main difference between these two, and that's in the hands, but we'll get to that in a minute. But you can see how essentially, just move his lasgun out of the way, it is essentially the exact same figure, pretty much down to a T, except for this mask piece, the weapons he comes with, and in the case of the guardsman, he comes with a grasping hand for a double barrel for the lasgun, whereas this guy comes with a grip hand for an actual weapon. So there is that difference. He has all the same articulation, so the arm is on a ball joint, both arms can move up, rotate all the way around. You have that kind of shoulder piece that moves slightly off, it's glued down here, so it does give him some range of mobility. Head is on a ball joint as well, so you get some good side to side. Now the way the head is done, and it's the exact same way on the regular Traitor Guardsman, is the helmet is a separate piece to the front of the face. So this helmet, this whole front piece with the gas mask, if I bring it close up to the camera you can see it, with these night vision lens and rebreather kind of mask thing, this is all a separate piece. I'm not sure if you can see it under here. So if you were to take this off, you could potentially pull this mask piece off and then put on other face pieces, kind of face plate to say, if you have one. Going around the back, the detail, he has the same grenades, exact same grenades as the other one. He does have that waist swivel. He has upper diaphragm swivel and a lower waist swivel, so he gets good range of movement on that. Now his legs are hindered by this bottom skirt piece, and it's the same across the board with all the guardsmen. So his legs can kick forward, but not much. He has dual jointed knees. He does have rocker ankle joints. He has a foot boot tilt thing, or the front foot swivel. His arms have double jointed elbows. It is kind of hard to see, but there is a double joint in there, so it is kind of covered up by the wrist guard. He does have that standard McFarlane ball peg thing for the wrist, so his hand plugs in on a ball peg, so you can get, depending on which way you have the peg centered, you can have it in and out, or you can have up and down. It's up to yourself which way you want to do it. I said he has the waist swivel, the ankles, the head, everything that the standard version has. So we'll go and get him to stand here, and we'll bring in a few other figures from the 40k universe. So starting off with one of the Marines, and this is the Ultramarine Reaver, I think they were. I only got the one of them. I do want to pick up a couple more. They are pretty good. You can see the height difference, so the Marine does stand a good bit over him. We'll bring in one of his fellow Traitor Chaos Space Marines. So we can show the height. This is the one that I modified slightly. So if you're wondering why the head looks different, I really need to glue the backpacks on these ones, because the backpacks are really loose on these. I just didn't get around to gluing them, but you can see the height. So he is pretty cool. And then for a big chunky lad, hopefully he will be on screen. I might have to move things aside. We're bringing in one of the... No, I don't have the Necrons near me. The Necrons, I think, are supposed to be human size, but they upscaled them since. So they're actually nearly as big as the Space Marines. But here is the mech in Mega Armor, or the Orc mech in Mega Armor, with the Scorcha combi weapon, or custom shooter, and the custom force field, and that big graspy claw thing that he has on his hand, which is pretty cool. But you can see, I just move things around because everything's going to start falling down on me, I bet you. Just move these guys around. Mr. Mace is getting in the way. The Orc is kind of technically at head height, but because they're so big and bulky, like the rest of their body actually dwarfs the guardsman. But the classic kind of Chaos Space Marines, or the kind of classic confrontation, is usually guard versus orcs, and you can see these guys do scale pretty well. I do wish McFarlane would do some basic orc boys as opposed to these mega armor ones. They're the only orc guys that they've done. It would be cool to see some regular orc boys as well, because they're just cool looking. The designs are usually pretty good, but overall, not a bad figure. It is a chase variant, so if you can get one, I do recommend getting them. If you want to just get the regular guardsmen and just go to town customizing them, you can do that too. I've actually done that with a couple of these guys, and I plan to get a few more for doing some more customs with them. So overall, he makes a good squad leader for a group if you're planning on doing a squad or some sort of custom to have a bunch of them. So they do look pretty good all together. So all in all, not a bad chase variant. Again, it is sad that they have only done a couple of chase variants that are harder to get, and some of the coolest stuff they have done are chase variants, which is kind of annoying as well. But overall, it is pretty cool, and I do hope we get to see more in the McFarlane line. Now, at the time of this recording, they haven't really announced any new stuff for the 40k franchise that they have the license for. So I'm hoping it's not, you know, dead in the water and that there's nothing else coming. There is a new Space Marine game coming. Space Marine 2 is on the way. So hopefully when that hits, we might get to see an influx of more figures and characters based on that from McFarlane. I know they're bigger scale than the Joy Toy stuff, because if I bring in one of the Joy Toy figures, which is the one I'm going to be reviewing next, which is one of the Sisters of Battle, or the Battle Sisters Adaptus Serratus. Like they do tower over them. So if you want something bigger on your display shelf, they look pretty dope. And if you want something smaller, the Joy Toy stuff is the way to go. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick video review for the Traitor Guardsman, or the Traitor Guard Chase variant. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.